The illustration I use all the time, when it comes to the will of God and just following God, I look at it like getting on a roller coaster. I'm always trying to talk my kids into going on scary rides. And, and some of them like it, some of them don't. And the ones that don't, I will try to trick them into going on scary rides because I think it's hilarious. Because I know they'll survive that roller coaster. Okay? I know it'll scare them to death, but they will survive it. We have a great picture in our house of me and Tommy and Chloe and Allie. We're all on a roller coaster. And this roller coaster is at Silver Dollar City. It's one of these that just takes off super fast. You're just sitting there and it just blasts off. I think it's called the detonator or something like that. Or powder keg. Powder keg is what it's called. And in Silver Dollar City. Anybody ever been there? All right, yeah, that's all. You guys, that's awesome. Well, I knew what it was. They didn't. And the way Silver Dollar City's laid out, you can't really see that roller coaster where it goes from the entrance. And so those girls were tall enough to ride on, so it's like, let's go do it. You guys are big enough, so this is an easy one. And I remember you get on that roller coaster, and once you get on there, it kind of goes out a little ways, and then it scoots over. And once you go out, that's when you see how high it goes. And as the father, I knew they'll be safe, but they're going to be terrified. And I thought that was hilarious. And I'll never forget, we got on there, and once you get on there and it starts moving, you're stuck. Okay? You don't get to change your mind in the middle of the ride and say, I quit. You have to go through it. And that's what I used to tell myself when I was a kid and scared. All I got to do is be brave enough to get on. If I can get on, you can cry and scream all you want. You're going to get through it. Okay? You will get through it. And so we go out there, and then all of a sudden Chloe, I'll never forget, it was the funniest thing. She goes out there and she sees how high it goes. She's like, it goes that high? And I said, yeah. And she did this thing when she was depressed. She'd always kind of do this. And she's like sitting there close, and she did that. She had this terrified look at her face. And I was sitting next to Allie, and man, that thing took off. And you can't hardly breathe. And I remember we're going, and there was a big drop, and I looked over at Allie. She had the most terrified look on her face I've ever seen in my life. And it scared her to death. But after they did it, well, if they'd have known what that roller coaster was going to be like, they wouldn't have gone on it. They wouldn't have. But you know what? After they went on it, they were glad they did. And next year, they went on it again. And they had the same terrified look. We sat in the same order and everything. They had the same terrified look on their face. It was so funny. And when it comes to, and they were, the whole time they were on that roller coaster, they wanted off. And when it comes to God's will for your life sometimes, there's going to be plenty of situations where you're in where you're going to be like, I want out of this. But you're stuck. You're not getting off. You're going to have to get through this trial. You're going to have to get through this difficulty. But you know what? While you're screaming, God knows what's going on. God knows you're going to survive. You can handle this. Okay? All we have to do is just have enough faith to just get in the roller coaster. You just have to have enough faith to get the will of God. You're going to be taken care of. You're going to get through it. You're going to do it screaming. You're going to be terrified. It's going to be difficult. But once you get through it, you're going to be glad you did it. I promise everybody who's ever gone through anything for the Lord, when they got to heaven, they were glad they did it. Maybe even on this earth, you're like, that wasn't worth it. Well, when you see your rewards in heaven, you'll say it was worth it. And that's one of the things I've always told my kids, and they all brag about some of the rides that they went on. But I had to trick some of them to get them on there. And we just got to learn to just trust God. He knows what we're going through. And I love what Job said earlier in chapter 13, in verse 15. He said, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him, but I will maintain mine own ways before him. So I'm trusting God no matter what. And you know what? The day is coming where the will of God might get us killed. The will of God, that day is coming. That day is here for some people. That day is here for some people in some parts of the world. That day has been here for many people throughout history. And you know what? God allowed them to be slain, but you know what? They trusted him, and they're all glad that they did it. They're all thankful that they did it. And so when you are in that situation, when you just don't know what to do, just focus on the things you know you're supposed to do. Trust God. He knows what's going on. don't back off from doing right. Just continue doing those things. He will get you through it. So